Thought I'd do a video of the POD HD500 being a MIDI controller for the Kemper Profiling amp. So the way I have this set up, very simple. A MIDI cable out from the MIDI out on the POD HD500 to MIDI in on the Kemper. The guitar plugs directly into the input jack of the Kemper, and so the POD HD500 is only a MIDI controller. It's not doing any sort of modeling or sound creation. It is simply buttons. And as you can see from this, as I switch buttons on here, I can select different settings on the Kemper. If I go up to my normal buttons, I'm turning on gates, EQs, distortions. I'm turning them on in the Kemper by hitting buttons here. Delays off and on, reverbs, whatever you want to set up. Just like you did on the HD500. The volume control works. As you go all to zero, you can turn the Kemper so that when the volume is zero, it automatically turns the tuner on, which I really like that. And as you go back, it acts as a normal volume control on the Kemper, controlling volume. You also can step on the volume control. I can't do it here because I'm up on a table, but you can step on it and turn the expression 2 on and actually control the wah if you turn a wah on in the Kemper. So I'll show you that also. So that's the goal, and so I'm going to run you through how to set that up real quickly. One of the things you need to understand about the HD500 is in system mode. The normal foot switch mode is ABCD, which most of you already run, which means your A, B, C, and D foot switches, foot switch 5, 6, 7, and 8, control the channel selection within that given bank. So you're selecting amps, profiles, right? And so we want to leave it in that mode because we are going to talk to the Kemper in normal browser mode, not in performance mode. So what that means is when you hit foot switch 5, also labeled A on your HD500, that is going to always send in bank 1, which I'll go down to bank 1. If I go 1A, it's always going to send a MIDI program selection of 1. 2 does 2, foot switch. The foot switch 3 is 3 and 4, and then you bank up to channel 2, and that goes 5, 6, 7, and 8. Channel 3, 9. So 3A is always going to send a program change 9 to the Kemper in that mode. That's not a selection you can change. As long as you're in the ABCD mode, my 3A is going to send a 9. 3B is going to send 10 to the Kemper. 3C, 11, 12. So I know that this 3A is sending MIDI program selection 9. So what I want to do is I want an amp on the Kemper that always gets selected when I select 9. So let me show you that. So over on the Kemper, I have a 2-rock amp. You can see that here, that I want to respond to MIDI program channel 9 selection when that hits. So what you do is you select the system button on the left. With the 2-rock selected, select the system button, and then you can see on the lower left you can dial in which MIDI program change that you want that to be. You just simply dial it to, in this case, which was a 9, but I'll dial it to 9, and then you select the assign button in the upper right, press that, and that will assign and go back to, then I'm going to hit exit. And so now the 2-rock will always be selected whenever the HD sends a MIDI program selection of 9. So that's how that works. Very simple. And then so foot switch A is going to be 9, foot switch 10 is going to be a different amp. So I'm going to select 10 on the HD500 right now. And the Plexi is selected. So if I go to select Plexi, just so you can see this again, I'm hitting the system button, and you can see that the Plexi is MIDI program 10. If I go to 11, That is, you can see MIDI program 11 is another plexi. MIDI program 12 is a Marshall Jubilee that I have set in that. So I'm going to go back to foot switch A on the HD500, which is sending a 9 to the Kemper, and MIDI channel 9 is the 2-rock. So that's how that's working real simply. Okay, we're back on the HD500 screen, and now all we want to do is get all of our other buttons working so that we can turn off and on distortions and modulation effects and things like that. So those are all the foot switch 1, 2, 3, 4. We want that to work. We want the volume to work. We want the wah to work. So let's start with that, and that's simple. You hold down the move button on the HD500, and it's going to bring up all the MIDI assignments. Foot switch 1, just so you can see this, we want foot switch 1 to send a channel change toggle, and the CC for 1 is a 17. 17 turns on the Kemper, it turns on the stomp A. If I go to the right, foot switch 2, I have it set to 18, which turns on stomp B on the Kemper. On foot switch 3, I have it at CC 19, which turns on stomp C of the Kemper. And then on foot switch 4, I have it turning on CC 24, which is the modulation in the effects section. So that's how I have it set up. So foot switch 1, 2, 3, 4, turn on the first 3 stomps. Foot switch 4 turns on the modulation, and that's how much control, because I only have 4 buttons. Those are the 4 I chose. So those are the ones those get to do. So let's go over and look at the looper. Of course, doesn't work on the Kemper. The tap does work. You set it to message change channel. CC number 30 is tap tempo. So if you set it to CC 30 on the tap, your tap tempo will work for any of your delay effects just by setting that. And you just go into your HD and set those. Expression pedal 1, just so you can see that. CC 7, minimum value of 0, maximum value of 127. That gives you your volume. So that works great. So all of a sudden your volume control works by setting that. Expression 2 is CC 1, minimum 0, maximum 127 again. And that actually sets up your wah. So when you stomp on that, you can turn your wah off and on. Your wah display off and on with the HD500. The other thing I did so that this works really well is I matched up a series of effects on the HD500 to similarly match the effects I plugged in on the stomps and the modulation on the Kemper, so that they look the same. Obviously we're not using these because we're not doing any modeling, but it puts an effect there. So for example, if I stomp on foot switch 1, you can see that is a tube compressor. What I have in stomp A on the Kemper is a compressor, so they match. So I turn that on. You see it turn on in the HD500. You see it also turn on this tube compressor, a compressor in the HD500. So visually it looks the same, even though it's not using the effect in the Kemper or in the HD500, but you do see it turn on. Similarly, if I hit foot switch 2, you see the foot switch 2 is a graphic EQ on the HD500. On a Kemper in slot B, stomp B, I have a distortion pedal. So what I did was I kind of lined them up, and usually this is the display I see on HD500 because this is the mode I use. So I can turn the dynamics off and on, the EQ off and on, the distortion off and on, the modulation off and on. On the HD500, I get to visually see them go off and on. On the Kemper, they actually go off and on with the same switch, so that I get a visual representation on the HD500 of what's happening on the Kemper. So I don't have to look at the Kemper ever to see it turn off and on. If I want the distortion on, I hit stomp on foot switch 3. I see it on the HD500, the distortion is on. If I did look at the Kemper, I would see that that effect, stomp box number C, or letter C, is turning on and off along with that. So that's how I just line them up, give them a name that's a similar, or a type that's a similar, so that they make sense to me, and then I don't have to look at the Kemper as I'm stomping off and on these. Another thing I thought I'd mention is the wah. On the Kemper, I have it always turned on. I have it in stomp slot D, as in dog, and so it's always on. But if I select that and you look at the settings, you have on page 2 of 3, you can turn the pedal mode to bypass at stop, which means if you aren't moving the wah's off. If you move the wah pedal, the wah is working. That way you don't have to stomp to turn it off and on. You just move the pedal you're wahing. If you stop moving or leave it momentarily off, the wah turns automatically off to normal mode. That way you don't have to do an extra stomp to turn the wah off and on. It's just always effectively on and waiting for you to move the pedal. Of course, that still means on the HD500 you have to hit the foot switch button in order to turn it to expression pedal 2 to move the wah. But that's great. So you still step on the pedal hard, select expression pedal 2, makes the wah effective, turn it off again the same way. So it works identically to the way you're used to it working on the HD500. So lastly, we have a bank 3 or bank 4, selection number 3, A, B, C, and D. I have 4 amps set up. I have a 2-rock. I have a plexi, another plexi, and a Marshall Jubilee set up. All on my foot switches. I can go through all 4 amps. Each of those I can turn on effects, dynamics, EQs, distortions, modulations, however you want to set your buttons up. You can turn those off and on. Your volume pedal all the way back turns your tuner on, and otherwise it's working. All the buttons really look like the way they work the way they did when you're on your HD500, so it's very familiar. You don't even have to look at the Kemper. Pretty much you just select this, and you can have multiple banks. I can bank down, so I'm banking down to bank 2. This has a 59 bassman in it, Marshall triple super lead, another one, a Mesa Road King. The buttons work the same, so my banks work, so I can have multiple banks. Bank 1 again. If I turn this on, that one's not, that's not set up. But everything works the same. You can bank up and bank down. You can select lots of amps. You can turn off and on effects. Becomes very familiar, very user-friendly for live. So that's it. Everybody enjoy.